I've always been frightened I fall off.
As I thought it was more complicated than what it actually is.
I've never done any dance before in my life.
Every time it's just as scary as the next.
There was none of the sort of anxiety that I had at school.
I did it and I'm really glad I did.
Hello.
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 Hello there.
Welcome to the Flourish Voices Podcast, made by members of the Flourish community.
Hi, how you doing?
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello and welcome to the Flourish Voices Podcast, made by members of the Flourish community, a mental health recovery hub based in Glasgow. This episode is made up of conversations we had about our experiences of positive risk-taking. What is it? Why is it important? And how can we help support people to make taking risks a little less scary? So, what do we mean when we say positive risk-taking?
Positive risk-taking is challenging our fear of failure and stepping outside of our comfort zone for the chance to discover something that might make our world a little bit brighter.
But why would I want to leave my comfort zone? It sounds nice.
I suppose a comfort zone is meaning doing something that I'm comfortable with all the time and not testing myself.
It means getting the same old familiar routine day in, day out, and no change, just stagnant and predictable and just stuck in a rut.
Comfort zones can make us feel safe, but they can also isolate us and keep us from doing the things we'd really like to do, making our health and well-being worse in the long run. Having a mental health condition can make it even harder to step outside of your comfort zone.
For some people who suffer from very pronounced anxiety, I think it can be very, very difficult to go out with your comfort zone to the point that it's maybe a barrier to you doing things that come into the category of positive risk-taking. I think for others, it can be the opposite, where you don't see risks, don't see red flags, and agree to things that are not necessarily good for you. For me, I've had to learn the balance between the two. I try not to allow my own mental health condition to stop me taking risks, but I try to be thoughtful and measured about the risks that I do take. I wouldn't say I always get that right.
I can't speak for other people, but I know I'm probably my own sort of biggest critic, I suppose, is like, I guess I'm aware of all my failures in a way that other people might not be.
Maybe the risks you've taken in the past didn't work out that well. You've learned from that. It maybe gives you a wee bit of anxiety approaching these subjects.
There's that kind of layer of stigma where there's going to be the expectation that if we fail, it's going to be something that we are personally responsible for not being well. That we won't get the same kind of respect or sort of forgiveness that someone more normal might have, which is a bad word to use, but, you know, for this context. You know, I fail, someone goes, you have failed, and it's because you are unwell, and it's harder to come back from. You're starting from a different kind of goal.
Is it like rolling with disadvantage?
Yeah, I can talk sort of D&D terms. There's like, and instead of someone who's rolling your normal sort of dice, we're rolling for disadvantage. We've got to roll again and take the lower number.
Because you tend to stare out the window when you go round in circles with you, and you dwell on things with your mental health problem, and coming out the house more and more gives you confidence. Because we can't really live without hope with mental health problems. You need hope.
Positive risks come in all shapes and sizes. One person's tiptoe is another's giant leap for mankind, and both can be life-changing.
Today I learned how to use the photocopier. And as I thought it was more complicated than what it actually is. I'll be able to do it more often in future.
Leaving the house to catch the bus from Victoria Road to Flourish House every day.
Riding a bicycle, because I've always been frightened I fall off. And it's always been difficult, and I've always admired other people on bikes, especially the delivery guys.
Put myself out there to start. After being unemployed a long time, you lose your confidence. But now I've started thinking it's time to get out there and do some kind of work or volunteer work. So I'm ready for that now, yeah.
And I have to say the most scary one of all is, apart from doing this interviews on a podcast I was at, and the most scariest thing is doing the reception. Every time it's just as scary as the next.
A wee while ago now, I did take a positive risk. I did go and stand up at the cafe meeting in the morning at 10:30, and I read the spiel out, and it was fine. And afterward, there was none of the sort of anxiety that I had at school. And afterwards, I smiled.
Quite recently, I was abroad, and I had an opportunity to travel down to the Sahara and camp in the wilderness. And probably every cell in my body said, no, don't do that. That's quite risky. But I did it, and I'm really glad I did. I just can't believe how clear the sky was.
So I worked in bikes for a few weeks, building up a bike to ride. And once it was ready, that was it. I had to take it home with me. As confidence was quite low at the time, I wheeled the bike from the workshop to home. I didn't cycle it. I got on it the next a few days later and started cycling about and felt okay, and it changed the way I lived. It changed the way I lived because I was on the bike nearly every day.
But why is it important to push yourself to take positive risks, and how can we get started?
If you don't take risks at all and you're very guarded, there's not a lot of variety in life. You may think that you're useless, but if you take risks and you realise that you can do things, so it makes life sweet. It makes life worth living.
The alternative is that we just stop, and that's even more scary.
I think you see people when they're at a very low point or have been at a very low point for a long time, and they're really struggling to see any other possibilities. Their brain's kind of presenting them with some pre-done conclusions based on things that have happened to them. But when you see them a few months down the line and they've had that kind of it's now or never mentality, let's just give it a go now, and you see that they've surprised themselves and things that have happened in their life they'd never expected or envisaged for themselves, and you see the change and the joy in them, I think that's what makes it worth doing and inspiring.
So we all have core beliefs. For a lot of us, those core beliefs are negative. Maybe we think that we are stupid or weak or useless, or that people are out to get us. And you can't change or revise these core beliefs just by thinking differently. You have to revise them through new experiences.
And how can we build confidence in ourselves?
I suppose you've just got to... It's obviously not going to happen overnight. I suppose you've just got to start doing little things, and that expands your comfort zone. And then once you do that, keep going.
Even if it's the smallest of steps, you can get a sense of achievement from that.
It's about learning to tolerate a level of discomfort, because it is uncomfortable to put yourself out there, but it's a bit like any muscle. You've just got to train it. You've got to practice. And then you'll get really beefy and swole, and you'll be able to do anything.
Easier said than done. Here at the Flourish community, we've spent 20 years building an environment in which we support each other and taking risks, regaining confidence and doing things we never thought we could.
Coming here was a big hurdle, because I wasn't sure what it would entail and how people would react. But then after I came a few times, everyone's treated the same as equals, so it made me very comfortable to come back, yeah.
It was just yesterday that we were practicing some Ceilidh dances for our Burns night do. I've never had the opportunity to try anything like that before, any kind of dance really. And it was great being able to try something like that in an environment where I wasn't going to be laughed at for not being good at it. We're kind of there for each other and we're not judging people for what their abilities are, failures or anything, and we're celebrating their positives. And I think just having that kind of unique environment makes a huge difference to what people feel able to take a risk with. I think having someone there to sort of talk through it, even if you aren't helping them with the task, if you're there to sort of say something silly and lighten the mood and make it a bit easier for them, not being alone makes a big difference to how intimidating something is. You step out and do something different. The first time, maybe you need a lot of support, and then the second time, maybe you need a little bit less. Maybe eventually you can identify for yourself what kind of thing you would actually like to pursue. Yeah, I don't think that I'm someone that has a great deal of confidence or belief in herself, but I guess I have a lot of faith in the people around me, and I guess that kind of fills in the gaps.
Understanding, listening to your views on things, encouraging. I lacked encouragement for a while, for a long time. I think that the people who support you during these times offer encouragement to you. I think that's important. It was more or less, are you going here today? And I was kind of feeling, I don't know, yeah, I'll go today, but now I don't need any of that. I just get up and go out.
I think we can't overstate the importance of the peer support that happens here. Members often find it hard to put themselves out there for themselves. They often find it easier to do for other people, and in doing that they're also taking a risk. And seeing people either succeed together, and that's great and they're pure buzzing about it, or seeing it not go well together and seeing them laugh about it and realising it's not the end of the world is a kind of magic, I think.
Up until the summer of last year, I couldn't cycle. I'd never learnt, and so I was encouraged to learn. I feel like there'd be a lot of shame about going into an organisation on my own and asking for help with learning to do something that most people learn as children. So going to these lessons and being encouraged, your balance isn't there, you're falling off into fences and stuff, and it's fine, it's part of the process, and it's not something that we're going to be singled out over. I didn't come away from any sort of session feeling I'd humiliated myself. Eventually, I was good enough to go out on a short ride with a group. On that first ride out, I lost my balance and came flying straight over the handlebars, slid across the ground. People were worried and they wanted to check that I was okay and to offer us sweeties so that I would feel better. And I was asked if I would be alright to carry on, and I was. I wasn't then excluded from the group for not being able to do the ride without incident. There was that encouragement to carry on trying and carry on being part of the group and to learn from the fall that I'd had and learn from that sort of mistake. Try again and try again and try again. And things just got better and better as far as like the cycling went. And we went on longer and longer trips together, and I fell off less and less without having a group of people there who are encouraging each other and supporting each other. I don't think I'd have learnt to cycle, let alone be going on trips. After I got reasonably confident going out on the cycles with the Flourish community, I built my own bicycle. And since then, I've passed the 1,000-kilometre mark just on my own bike without that community that was willing to support me through those early mistakes and failures, none of that would have happened.
Having a supportive environment is important. Bad things may still occur, but having that support, being surrounded by sympathetic people, gives one strength. Your experience is not unique, and it doesn't make you abnormal or inferior. Others have similar stories, and when you learn this, rather than just being told it, it becomes easier to cope with and ultimately to accept your experience.
We had a wee think about how we could help the world be a little bit more like us.
What advice could we give to help people feel more confident, encouraging and supporting the people around them in a positive risk-taking journey?
Here's what we came up with.
Celebrate the process as much as the outcome.
Be there to reassure people when things don't work out right.
Creates a space for people to really try for themselves.
Be open about your own mistakes and flaws. Nothing is perfect. Doesn't have to be. Recovery isn't always linear, and acknowledging that makes a difference.
Help people break down their task into less intimidating bits.
Be willing to listen and learn from people and their experiences.
To give people real opportunities to try, not manufactured ones.
Thanks for listening, and a special thanks to all the members that participated, as well as Big Steve for once again contributing their musical talents. The Flourish community is a part of Glasgow Association for Mental Health. You can find us in the GAMH Community Hub.
Bye now.
Goodbye.
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 Goodbye, everybody. Have a nice night. Bye.
Get in, losers. We're going positive risk-taking.
I remember a day I was on my bike, it was pouring the rain, and I was cycling up a hill and I was absolutely soaked, and I just sort of stopped, and there was a guy getting on his motorbike, and he shouted to me, "On you go, come on, you can do it." I was like, "Oh, thanks mate." I needed that at the time, so I just carried on.